Thank you. Wow. This is a big crowd, I'll tell you. This goes all the way back. I wish they'd show it because they just don't do that. You know, they don't like to. This goes all the way back. I just looked at it on television, but it's our television. We show it, but they don't show it. You know why? Because they're fake news, right? They're fake news. Hello, Alabama, and I'm thrilled to be back in your incredible, wonderful state that we won by a record number. We won this state. We also won a lot of other states by numbers that they don't tell you about. We did have a rigged election. It was terrible, terrible. And you look at what's going on now. You look at what's going on now and the border, but take a look at Afghanistan, what's happening. But I'm with thousands of proud, hardworking, incredible American patriots. With your help, we're going to elect our friend Mo Brooks to the U.S. Senate. We're going to fire Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Joe Biden, and the radical left. And we're going to make America great again. We have been making it so great. Now they're biting into that, but we're not going to let that happen. We can never let that happen. That's why, you know, I had the idea, all my ideas. Someday they're going to tell me how to do things. But I like the George Patton piece. Did you like that? General Patton. I thought so. Because we're getting a little tired of the woke generals that we have, right? Where they move our military out before they move our civilians and before they move $83 billion worth of equipment. Let's move them out. And the Taliban looks and they say, I can't believe it. This could only happen to us. I can't believe it. The military left. They go in. We have 45,000 people there, Americans, anywhere from, I guess, 15. They have no idea how many. That's even worse. They say it could be 10. Oh, could also be 45,000, but it's a lot of people and equipment like nobody has anywhere in the world, $83 billion. 1 year ago this month, in my nomination acceptance speech, which you remember, a lot of you were there. I see a lot of you that were there. I warned the entire country of the disastrous consequences of a Biden presidency. I understood it. A lot of you understood it, too. I said that Joe Biden would eliminate America's borders in the middle of a pandemic. He did. I predicted that he would unleash a wave of violent crime that would turn our cities into a nightmare of killing and bloodshed. You look at these Democrat-run cities, Chicago, LA, big cities, small cities, everyone run by a Democrat, New York. They don't prosecute people in New York. Only Republicans they prosecute. They don't prosecute murderers and killers. They prosecute Republicans. It's misconduct. It's called prosecutorial misconduct. But I told you this was going to be happening. We stated it loud and clear. We said he would impose crippling shutdowns and restrictions on in-person schooling, and that these painful policies would nonetheless fail to stop the virus. He didn't stop the virus, you know? They say, oh, he gets wonderful marks. He doesn't get good marks. He's done a terrible job, including on vaccinations, including on everything else. And now the virus is back. The virus is back. I'm shaking hands with everybody backstage. I say, well, I don't know. Is this a good thing or bad? You'll read about it in 3 or 4 days, maybe. Hopefully not. But I said that Biden would embolden America's enemies, and that's what he's done, and that the radical Democrat socialist agenda would set our nation on the road to economic ruin. You look at what's going on with inflation. Has anyone noticed that your gasoline is now at levels that you never thought you'd see again 6 months ago? So we had $1.87 a gallon, and we had a thriving industry, energy independent. Nobody thought would ever be energy independent. We didn't need the Middle East. We didn't need the Middle East. And now you have over $5 in many cases, and it's going, even here, it's going to be over $5 very soon. And I saw the other day, before this whole thing with Afghanistan started, because right now, nobody's talking even about energy, even about the horrible border condition that They're allowing millions of people to come into our country, people that we have no idea, but people aren't talking about that. They're talking about the disaster of Afghanistan. Not only have my predictions come 100% true, but it's even worse than any of us could have imagined in our worst nightmare. Nobody thought this kind of thing could happen. Biden has obliterated our border, given up our energy independence, caused soaring inflation. He failed totally on economic and policies. I mean, you look at what's going on, it's crazy. And the senators that voted for this $1.2 trillion bill, of which they call it infrastructure, but only 11% is infrastructure. Where the hell are these people coming from? It's the roadmap. They call it the glide path. It's the roadmap to the Green New Deal, conceived and dedicated by AOC, a real beauty. She's a real beauty. She knows more about the environment. I don't think she ever even did she ever take a course? She wasn't a good student. Did she ever take a course on the environment? Remember when we first said, you have 12 years to live, she said 2 years ago. That means you have, right now you're about 9.5 years. Somehow you're not worried about that, but you are worried about China and Russia and other places, okay? All right? We rebuilt our military, stronger, bigger, better than ever before, and now I see it being dissipated and being given. Our military is being given to the enemy. Biden failed totally on the pandemic, and he's now overseeing the greatest foreign policy humiliation in the history of the United States of America. This is the greatest humiliation I've ever seen. Biden's botched exit in Afghanistan is the most astonishing display of gross incompetence by a nation's leader, perhaps at any time that anybody's ever seen. Name another situation like this. Vietnam looks like a masterclass in strategy compared to Joe Biden's catastrophe. And it didn't have to happen. All he had to do is leave the soldiers there until everything's out. Our citizens, our weapons. Then you bomb the hell out of the bases. We have 5 bases. And you say, bye-bye. You say bye-bye. The scene of those big, giant planes taking off with people hanging on the sides and falling off, there'll never be anything like that. That's worse than the helicopters. You remember the helicopters taking off the roofs? This blows it away. Not even a contest. This will go down as one of the great military defeats of all time, and it did not have to happen that way. This is not a withdrawal. This was a total surrender. They surrender for no reason. They weren't asking. We had them. I dealt with Abdul. He was the leader. I said, Abdul, anything happens, we are going to rain terror upon you. It will be a terrible thing. Don't touch our American citizens. Don't ever come to our country. Don't ever come to our country. And you're going to continue fighting your civil war. I can't do that. They've been fighting it for hundreds of years. That's what they do, is they fight, and they're good fighters. But I had a good relationship other than that one statement. I said, after I said that, I said, now let's get down to business. And we had a conditions-based agreement. And they didn't meet the first 2 conditions, and we hit them hard. And then they met them. And then they had a couple of other conditions that they were ready to meet. And then we had a rigged election, and we had a new president. And the new president came into office, and he dropped to his knees, and he said, come on in and take everything that we have. This is a disgraceful thing, the most embarrassing thing that we've ever seen in this country. There's never been an embarrassment. And the nations of the world, both friend and foe, are looking at us and saying, what the hell happened so quickly to the United States of America? They can't believe it. They can't believe it. The equipment that they've got is the most sophisticated military equipment in the world. He surrendered our air base. He surrendered our weapons. He surrendered our embassy. They spent $1 billion building this ridiculous embassy. And he abandoned our great American citizens. They're over right now. They have no idea Remember this, the Taliban's tough. And they don't respect our country, and they don't respect our president. It's not good. They're over there now, and they don't know what's going to happen, our citizens. Joe Biden was going on vacation as Afghanistan was going to hell. And this is what you get when you have weakness in the White House. You can't have weakness in the White House. They have to respect your president. When I was president, we only had strength. Remember the 59 shots we took at Syria? 59 missiles, every single one of them hit their target from 700 miles away. And I was sitting with President Xi of China. You remember having chocolate cake at Mar-a-Lago? It was wonderful cake. And when I said to him what we had just done, the missiles were launched, he looked at me and he goes, "Repeat." I didn't know he spoke English, actually. He said, "Repeat." I said, "What did you just say? Repeat." So he spoke a little more English than I thought, because he never said hello, but he said, "Repeat." And I said, "We just shot 59 missiles in from ships, very far away. Every one of them hit their target. It was an incredible display of talent and weapons. And the reason we did that is because we had to, because President Obama and Biden drew the red line in the sand and said, don't cross it, and they crossed it, and nothing happened. That's when Russia got involved. Russia went in. They said, oh, nothing's going to happen. So Russia got involved. Other countries got involved. That red line in the sand from President Obama that was just absolutely, it just didn't matter. It was just words. That's a problem with a lot of politicians, actually, but not Mo. But it just doesn't matter. When he said, red line, don't ever cross it, and they crossed it, and nothing happened. But the 59 missiles were an incredible display. Under my administration, everyone in the world knew not to mess around with America. They knew that. They understood our power and that I would not hesitate to use it in defense of our citizens. And the Taliban understood that maybe as well as anybody. This would never have happened if I was president. Our country was so respected. Everybody respected our country. China respected our country. We took in billions and billions of dollars in taxes and tariffs from China. They never gave us 10 cents. But then, of course, the China virus came, and it was a lot different. My attitude toward China changed. As I personally told the Taliban leader, if anyone ever double-crossed the United States of America, it would be the last thing they ever did. We said it loud and clear. And you knew it better than anybody, and Alabama knew it, because one thing, we won Alabama by a record, we won South Carolina by a record, and then they said, we lost Georgia? How the hell did that happen? That doesn't happen. No, we know how that happened. We know how it happened. But under our leadership, America was respected again. Our people did a great job. I've been watching Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State. He did a great job, and he's going around spreading the word, and General Kellogg and others, they've been great. But they understood this could never happen. You never move the military first. You move the military last. We had total control militarily. They would have never come in. We could have kept them there for a long time, but 21 years, we want to bring them home. But we want to bring them home with dignity. You know, very soon, we're going to have September 11th, and you're going to have, because of Biden, the Taliban flag flying over our embassy, flying over our facilities. So that was not even a possibility that a thing like that could happen. We decimated ISIS. You remember that, ISIS. We had a great, great success. When I took over, ISIS was all over the place. And in a short period of time, we killed its leader and founder, al-Baghdadi. We eliminated the senior ranks of al-Qaeda, and we terminated the world's top terrorist in Soleimani, who killed a lot of American soldiers and a lot of other people, too. And they knew we weren't playing games. They understood that right from the beginning. This proven record of America's strength laid the groundwork to safely and responsibly bring our troops back home. Nobody was going to mess with us. And then this clown, they rigged the whole damn deal, and he got in office, and now they're taking advantage of us. And remember this isn't stopping. This is going to go on for a long time. This is going to go on for a long time. This isn't going away. This isn't like a 3-day hit. It's going to go on for a long time. Taliban, great negotiators. Tough fighters, great negotiators. You got 45,000 people. You got a lot of people also that deserve to be helped, and they're not going to let them be helped at all. This is going to go on for a long time. This is a great stain on the reputation of our country. Going into the Middle East was one of the most disastrous decisions that our country has ever been involved with. We've never had a decision, in my opinion, it was the worst decision that we've ever had. It was quicksand. We should have gone in, knocked the hell out of it. You know, I met a general. His name was General Kane. I don't even know. Maybe he's not even on my side. Who the hell knows with these generals? You know, when I get through with this guy, Milley, I mean, how about Milley? Remember when I walked to the church, proudly walked to the church, that the protesters, they tried to burn it down, but I walked to the church, protesters out there, and Milley was walking with me. And the next day, the radical left media starts calling, you shouldn't have walked, you shouldn't have walked. Instead of saying, I'm proud to walk with my president, not because it's me, because of the office. Instead of saying that, he wanted to apologize for walking with the President of the United States. And I said, this guy doesn't have what it takes. And you're seeing that now, because the worst decisions I've ever seen. That's, again, why I put the patent. I just remembered it as I was coming over here. I said, get that clip quickly. The people of Alabama understand that clip. Do you think that... Let me ask you, do you think that General Patton was woke? I don't think so. What do you think, Mike? Mike, was he woke? I don't think so. I don't think he was too woke. He was the exact opposite. You know what woke means? It means you're a loser. Everything woke. Everything woke. It's true. Everything woke turns to shit, okay? It's true. It's true. Look at what's happening. I got in a little trouble. I said that our women's soccer team was supposed to easily win, but they went woke, except for a few of them. I love those women that stood up and they saluted our flag. There were some of them. But the one with the purple hair, she didn't play too well. She went woke. You can have her. And they didn't do too well, unfortunately. We want them to do well, but they didn't. But it's true about woke. You just take a look. Everything goes bad. It's a shortcut to losing everything you have. They want to get rid of our great heroes and heroines. They want to get rid of our history, our culture. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. You know, when they were starting to rip down our statues, and it started with people, Confederate people, generals, some respected, some not, but they're taking down our culture and our heritage. And then it started with others, and then it went to Robert E. Lee. Robert E. Lee was a part of our history, and then it went to Abraham Lincoln and Thomas Jefferson, now George Washington. In San Francisco, they're taking the name of George Washington off schools. Can you believe it? We're not going to let this stuff go on. The hardest thing I had to do as president, was signing letters to the families of soldiers who were killed in the Middle East. Often I called the parents, very often. Sometimes I went to Dover Air Force Base. That's where the bodies of the soldiers would come in, and I'd see them bringing a young man, young woman in a coffin, and I'd be with the parents. And I've told this story a couple of times. The parents would sometimes be unbelievable. You would almost not understand. It was like, sir, it's so great to meet you. And they'd always tell stories about their child. Sir, my son could throw a football so long. He was a quarterback in high school. He was a quarterback in college. Sir, I think he could have been in the NFL. He was really good. He was so great. And we're waiting for the plane to come in. And sometimes they'd be talking about their daughter. Lots of daughters were killed coming out of the Middle East. My daughter was so beautiful, sir. She was so incredible. She was the greatest. And I'd say to the general and the colonel that ran Dover, the great people, by the way, we have great generals. We have great generals. The ones you see on television are not the ones that are great. We have great generals and we have great leaders and a great military that I rebuilt. I rebuilt it. It was exhausted. But I'd say to the general and the colonel that ran Dover, and they saw the bodies coming in many days of the week, I'd say, General, it's amazing. The parents seem so fine. They can handle it. No, they can't, sir. I said, no, I just spent a half an hour talking to them. They're okay. I mean, they understand what happened. They're okay. No, they're not, sir. When that plane pulls up, sir, that big, unbelievable, powerful, just like you saw 3 days ago with the bodies dropping off the sides, how desperate are people to leave when you're hanging, clinging to a plane that goes up thousands of feet and you eventually have to let go? How desperate is that? How sad and how desperate. But when that cargo plane pulled up and that door opened, the general said, sir, when that door opens and you had the most beautiful young people carrying a coffin or a number of coffins off of the plane, sir, when that happens, you'll see the parents are not okay. So I was talking to people that seemed to be fine. I was amazed at their strength. And 10 minutes later, I watched that same mother and that same father screaming, running to the coffin as it was being taken off, breaking security lines. You couldn't stop them. I've never seen anything like it. And for what? And for what? And then you have a man who just retreats and gives up. And it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace to our country. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace to everybody. The most incredible people. But that was the saddest thing, seeing that. Dover, you go to Dover. You go also to Walter Reed Medical Center, incredible doctors. I will tell you this, most incredible doctors. And you see the kind of horrific injuries. And you see the parents, the wife, the husband standing and looking over the body of somebody that was just absolutely shattered. In some cases, no legs. In one case, I'll never forget, no legs, no arm, and then the other arm a half, and said to me, sir, I got lucky. I was able to save a half an arm. And I'm looking and I'm saying, we can never let this happen again. It was a terrible, terrible thing that happened. It was such a horrific mistake. But these people represent our nation. They're the greatest people our nation has ever had. Ever had. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we had a deal where we were going to get out with great honor and they weren't going to play games. And we had to meld it in with the government, but I've never been a big fan of Ghani. I always said he was a total crook. I've said it for years. It turned out he was a crook. He was a crook, and he left. He fled. He fled with a lot of cash. What we've done, how we got into that mess is just amazing. But we could have gotten out with honor, and we should have gotten out with honor. And instead, we got out with the exact opposite of honor. Since my administration began negotiating a peace deal last year, somebody said, oh, he's dealing with the Taliban. Who the hell else am I supposed to deal with? Deal with the people that ran or the people that were highly paid? You know, we paid the soldiers. They were among the highest paid soldiers in the world. I remember a certain highly overrated general came to my office. Sir, they're fighting for their lives. They're fighting for their country. I said, no, General. They're paid more than any soldier in the world. And when that payment stops, they're gone. And that's exactly what happened. Exactly what happened. But since my administration began the negotiations on the peace deal last year, not a single American service member has been killed in combat in Afghanistan. It's over 18 months now, 18 months. And you know why that is? Not because the Taliban aren't great fighters, because they are great fighters. All you have to do is ask Russia, which used to be called the Soviet Union, and because of Afghanistan, it's now Russia. Much smaller version of what it was. Because of Afghanistan, they went bust, spending so many years and so much money and not winning in Afghanistan. But all of that money they spent, all of the lives they lost, same thing. But all you have to do is ask Russia, what do you think? Now I hear they're going back in, not so fast. Everybody that's gone in hasn't been so good. And you know what? We have to go in, and we should go in when it's right. And we now may have to be forced to go in because this person that is running our country made a horrific decision of taking all of our powerful military out. We may be forced to go in. And we may not be forced, but we may be forced to go in. And if you're not prepared to go in, you're never going to see those 45,000 people again. That I can tell you. If they don't think you're prepared to go in, you're never going to see again, whether it's 10 or 45,000 people. You'll never see them again. All Joe Biden had to do was follow our plan. It's like the border. All he had to do was go to the beach. He didn't have to do anything. We had the tightest, most secure border. We built almost 500 miles of wall. He could have finished it in 1 month. Instead, he's paying billions of dollars not to finish it. And I would have had it much earlier, but I got sued by the Democrats in Congress so much. Took 2.5 years for me to win the lawsuits. After we won all the lawsuits, we built it at a rapid pace. It was just about finished. Helped us great. We set records at the border. All he had to do was go to the beach. Same thing here. All he had to do is follow our plan. Now, it was conditional, so if they don't follow it, then we start blasting them again. They didn't want to be blasted. They were tired of being blasted. They were tired. You know, they're tough. Everybody's tough. But you know what? We're tougher. He just said it. But nobody would know it. Nobody would know it. When you look at what's happening, nobody would know it. But we're tougher. I'd like to explain that to Abdul and to everybody else. We're much tougher. Please remember that. It's hard for them to understand that now after watching this. Think of that. The soldiers have left. I could just see this. The leadership of the Taliban standing there. Somebody walking up. Sir, the soldiers have left Afghanistan. He goes, what? The soldiers have left. And they've left all of their citizens behind. And they've left $83 billion worth of equipment behind, including brand new Apache helicopters, thousands of Humvee vehicles with armor guard, equipment that nobody has ever even seen before. It was so sophisticated and good. So can you imagine these guys, Abdul and his friends, sitting there, that the United States soldiers, our military, has left. They walked in. They walked in, and they took everything. It's crazy. It's crazy. I've never seen anything so stupid in my life. Somebody said, "Don't say it, sir. It's not good." I asked yesterday, I was with a group of people, and there was a 5-year-old child. And I explained the situation to the 5-year-old child. They said, "No, you shouldn't do that, sir, because the press won't like it." I said, "That's okay. I don't mind. The press doesn't like anything I do. They actually do like it, but they'll never say it, okay?" But I asked the child, "So what would you do after describing? Would you leave the military until everything's out, including the civilians and all of that incredible military equipment? Or would you have the military go out first?" "Sir, I'd leave the military in." He was 5. He said, "I'd leave the military in, get everything out first." I said, "Thank you very much." But they didn't want me to tell that story. They thought it was not an appropriate story, but it's true. This was a 5-year-old kid, 5 or 6-year-old kid. And this is what we're stuck with. But when Biden took office, he foolishly tore up our really good plan. Again, not a plan, it's conditions. We do this, we do this, we do this. If you don't do these things, we're not going to do it. And then we start dropping bombs all over the place. And they say, "You know what? We're going to do it. We've decided to do it." No, we had a good understanding. They always hate it. Remember when I came in, Obama said the worst problem we have is North Korea, Kim Jong-un. I said, "What's the problem?" He said, "I think you're going to go to war with North Korea." I said, "Have you ever called him?" "No." Actually, he called him 14 times and was not responded to. But he told me no, but that wasn't truthful. I said, "It would be good to talk to him, wouldn't you? You know, rather than nuclear war. Wouldn't it be nice?" Anyway, through a series of events, I did talk to him, and it was nasty at the beginning, remember? He said, "We have a red button on my desk." And I said, "I have a much bigger red button. And my red button works, and yours doesn't." And anyway, it was very nasty, and then all of a sudden, it became a love fest. It became great, right? And I went to North Korea, went to South Korea, went across the line. We got along great. There was no nuclear catastrophe. But you got to be careful, because he does not respect Joe Biden, and he does not respect any longer America. But I said, it's good to speak to people. I stopped the pipeline in Russia. I stopped it. Nobody's ever been tougher to Russia, but I got along great with President Putin. We had a great relationship. He said, "You're killing me with this pipeline." I said, "Look, not right. Germany shouldn't have been doing that." You know, the European Union takes tremendous advantage of us. Almost as bad economically as China. People say, "Oh, that's a terrible thing to say." I say, "Really? How many Chevrolets are in Beijing right now?" Maybe none, okay? They won't take our cars. They won't take our farm product. They won't take anything. And I was hitting them hard. And then the China virus came, and it was a terrible period of time, but we did the greatest job. And because the base was so strong, what we did was so strong. Our country is doing well. It's going to be blown now with all the inflation and everything else that's taking place. But we built such a strong foundation that our country is doing great, and other countries are doing horribly, horribly. Remember, they used to use anything to hit us. When we got hit, I closed it to China, closed it to Europe, anything to hit us. But they'd say, in South Korea, they're doing so well. South Korea is being decimated right now. India is doing so well. India is being decimated right now. We did a great job on that. The ventilators, the equipment that we got, the cupboards were all bare, everything that we did. And then we developed a vaccine, 3 vaccines in 3 months, in 9 months. And actually, I'll tell you, it was 3 days less, 3 days less than 9 months. And it's great. And you know what? I believe totally in your freedoms. I do. You got to do what you have to do. But I recommend take the vaccines. I did it. It's good. Take the vaccines. But you got, no, that's okay. That's all right. You got your freedoms. But I happen to take the vaccine. If it doesn't work, you'll be the first to know, okay? I'll call up Alabama and say, hey, you know what? But it is working. But you do have your freedoms. You have to maintain that. You have to maintain that. And you got to get your kids back to school. And the mask issue is interesting because Fauci said masks are bad, and now he's a radical masker. Now he wants you to wear 15 different masks at one time. I don't know. He also told me he was a great athlete. Then I saw him throw out a pitch at the baseball. I used to be a great athlete, sir. You did? Really? Oh, that's good. Then I watched him on television. That's not an athlete. The ball almost went to first base, didn't it? The issue here is not about whether to leave Afghanistan. The issue is Joe Biden's staggering incompetence and gross negligence. He doesn't know where the hell he is. You think he's running the government? He's not running the government. Creating the greatest strategic humiliation that we've ever seen as a country, and it was something that we should have stopped, and the general should have done something. They should have done something. They should have talked to him and said, look, Commander-in-Chief, but you just couldn't have done that. If he had if he just moved the people out, he should have done it, and he should have done it first. He had to have done it first. You know, sometimes in life, decisions are made. And when those decisions are made, if they're bad decisions, you've got to get away from them. And you've got to get away from them fast. And if you don't get away from them, you're not going to have a country anymore. You know, I said about elections, if we don't have great elections, if we don't have borders, if we don't have the things that are being taken away from us, we're not going to have a country anymore. And certainly, we're not going to have a respected country anymore. With me in office, the Taliban would not have ever dreamt of capturing our airfield or parading around with our American weapons. Did you see all those guns they have? Who recognized those guns? Because they're the same guns you had. We made them. There would have been no emergency embassy evacuation and no taking down of our flag. They took down our flag because we would have established clear lines that the Taliban would have never dared to cross. The problem with Biden is that our enemies are not afraid of him. They don't respect him. Our adversaries and our allies no longer trust him. They can't trust him any longer. Remember, he went back and he went to Europe, and they didn't know what the hell was going on. And they said, we're back, we're back. In other words, we're back. Now you can continue to take advantage of us, because Europe took advantage of us with NATO like nobody ever. You know, I got Europe to pay $430 billion toward NATO. They would have never paid. For 15, 18 years, it was like this, the payment. And we're protecting them. And some of them were totally delinquent. They didn't pay. And I said, you got to pay. They said, sir, what would happen if we didn't pay? Would you protect us? I said, if you didn't pay, I would not recommend protecting you. And it was amazing how fast that money came in, right? That money came in. That money came in fast. 430. It started off with 130 billion, not million, billion. And then 430 billion came in very quickly. We did a lot of good things with South Korea. I said, we protect you for nothing. You've got to pay. You're a rich country. You make the boats. You make all our television sets, which you took from us. Thank you very much. You make so many cars for us. You got to pay. And they agreed, and they paid billions of dollars at my request. It wasn't that easy. It took a little while, like about 2 days. They agreed to pay billions of dollars. And then I said, look, next year, wait till after the election, but you're going to have to pay at least $5 billion. No, we will not pay. I said, yes, you will pay. We have 32,000 soldiers in South Korea. He said, no, President Moon, nice man, good man. But he said no, you know, which he should say. Why should he when he's been, you know, succouring us for so many years? So he said, no. I said, you're going to have to pay $5 billion. But then the election result turned out different than what it should have, different from the real result. And I just heard they made a deal with South Korea to pay a cost of living adjustment. You know what that is? Nothing. When the money I raised, it's like nothing. And that's so they were. That was another country, I'm sure, that was extremely happy with the results. But I did a great job in protecting them. I think I've saved them from Kim Jong-un. So I don't think they. I'll tell you what, a lot of people from South Korea come up to me and say, "Thank you very much, sir." I think I saved them from Kim Jong-un because of the relationship I developed with Kim Jong-un. Biden is the most pathetic president. And look, he makes Jimmy Carter look great, right? Look at that man with that jacket. I love you, man. How many rallies have you come to? What number is this? 30. Much more than that. Much more. We have some women. Are they here tonight? North Carolina? Where are they? Where are they? We have some women. They've been to 96. I didn't even know we did 96. I said, how many? Sir, we're up to about 96. I said, I didn't know we did that many. But, look, this is a very unpleasant subject, but still, is this the greatest place to be in the world? At a Trump rally, right? It's unpleasant to talk about it, but sometimes you have to think and talk about unpleasant things. But not only is it Biden and the embarrassment to the United States abroad, his radicalism and extremism is currently destroying our nation right here at home. And nobody understands that better than Alabama. Nobody. Remember when Biden used to go and say, like, he's in Iowa, and it'd say, it's great to be in Idaho. Sir, you're in Iowa. He would do this all the time. He was in New Hampshire. It's great to be in Maine today. Sir, you're in New Hampshire. The worst was when he was in New York, and he said, it's great to be in Florida. There were no palm trees. Great to be in Florida. He'd do that all the time. I've never done it yet. I've never done it. With all the speeches I've made, I was just saying, because I said Alabama, but I know exactly. I didn't have to think about it. It's called Alabama. I love Alabama. I've always loved Alabama. And I've always said, if that ever happens, you can forget about the rest of the night, because the speech is a total disaster. In other words, it's great to be in South Carolina with you people tonight. And I'd say, you know what? I'd say, if that ever happened, it's a disaster. You might as well just walk off the stage, because you could be Winston Churchill, great speaker. You could be Winston Churchill, the great Winston Churchill, make an incredible rest of the speech, and it's a disaster. The only difference is if you make a speech, if he does it, which he does all the time, different forms, the press doesn't cover it. He's the only guy that didn't get covered falling, walking up the stairs to ever. The press didn't cover it, other than a couple. Internet covered it, I guess, right? But the press. Do you think they would have covered it if I fell on the Air Force One? He fell 3 times. Down goes Frazier. Remember that? Down. He kept going down and up, down and up. I said, what the hell's going on here? I was watching that. What's going on with our president? And it wasn't on one nightly newscast. I think I might have been on, I did the ramp, the long, slippery ramp. I said, General, it was pouring out, pouring. I said, General, this is a bad deal here. I got leather shoes on the bottom, and I'm going to fall. I'm not going to let them fall. I'm not. So I walked down tiny little steps. What's wrong with the president? The biggest story. I was so proud when I got down, I didn't fall. I said, General, I don't want to grab you, but I may have to grab you. Big, strong general, commandant of West Point. I made my best speech at West Point that day, but then it was pouring. And when I went down the ramp, and it was pure, it wasn't, normally they have like some little grooves, nothing. It was like an ice skating rink. I think it was a trap. And I said, General, this is not a good situation. That sucker looks slippery as hell, and I'm not going to allow them to take me falling. Remember Gerald Ford fell? That was not a good time. Some other bad things happened to presidents. Not a good time. You can't do that. You can't let that happen. So what happened is they made that a big story. I was so proud of myself. I made my best speech, and nobody talked about that speech. Someday, hopefully, they'll go back and get the speech I made at the graduation of West Point 2 years ago. I'd love you to hear that speech. I called up the First Lady. I said, First Lady, I just made a great speech. She said, you're on television for the way you went down a ramp. That's all they talked about. But with him falling down the stairs 3 times, he was down. No, he's up. No, he's down again. Oh, my God. No, he's up. He's down again. He's down for 3 times. You know, if that were a fight, they'd stop it, right? If that were a fight, they would have stopped it, Mike. In a matter of mere months, Biden has thrown our southern border wide open. When I left office, we
handed the new administration the most secure border in U.S. history, and they turned it into the greatest border disaster in American history, probably anywhere in the world. You know, they're emptying their prisons out into our country. And I'm not just talking about Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Mexico. I'm talking about Middle Eastern countries. Yemen, people are coming in from Yemen. Our country will really be in trouble. We'll really be in trouble. Under my administration, we ended the ridiculous catch and release. You catch somebody, you find out they're a criminal, and you release them immediately into our country. We ended asylum fraud. We deported record numbers of criminal aliens. We negotiated historic agreements with Mexico and Central America to stop illegal immigration. And we built all of that wall that I just talked about. But we had a stay in Mexico policy. You can't come into our country, I'm sorry. Stay in Mexico. Biden ended it. He ended it. But you know what happened? Yesterday, we won in court, and a very wise judge said, we're allowed to have stay in Mexico. Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Judge. Thank you very much. I mean, they used to stay in the United States, and then you'd never find them again. You stay, and, you know, some of these people are seriously tough criminals. I achieved a 90% reduction in illegal border crossings. Think of that, 90%. It was going to go much higher. And brought illegal immigration to a virtual halt. It was the lowest levels ever recorded. And you could come into our country, but you had to come in legally. Finally, we did it, but we had to win a lot of court cases. Many of those court cases started against us by Democrats in Congress. Under the Trump administration, our message was clear. If you try to come here illegally, you will be caught, you will be detained, and you will be immediately sent back home where you belong. And when people heard that, and they hear it, they're genius, it's genius. When people heard that, and then they saw the results, because it was at games, it was happening, they never came. They stopped. Remember at the beginning with the caravans? We ended the caravans, but now the caravans are back at a level that nobody's ever seen. Bigger, stronger, more powerful. It's a disgrace. Now the radical left Democrats have surrendered our sovereignty to the coyotes and drug cartels, child smugglers, human traffickers, and they usually traffic in women. Biden stopped wall construction, instituted nationwide catch and release, wanted it back, and invited the entire world to make a mad dash for the USA. When he said, come, you're welcome, I don't know if he knew. Do people think this is a good thing, what happened? They're destroying our country. They're destroying. Last month alone, Border Patrol, who we love, apprehended a mind-boggling 210,000 illegal border crossers. You can multiply that times 6, 7, 8, or 9 of the people that come in without getting caught. They say you can use numbers like that. Record numbers are getting away, and historic numbers are coming from outside Mexico and Central America, from every corner all over the world. A lot of them coming in from the Middle East. At this rate, millions of illegal aliens will cross our border just this year alone. Millions of people. Many of these people are hardened criminals, murderers. Again, think of this. Just think of this statement. They are emptying their jails into the United States. Think of that. A lot of people don't know what that means. They are the toughest, meanest jails. They're emptying them into the United States. This massive overcrowding on our border is a super spreader disaster that will bring new variants into our nation, and honestly, far worse than variants, far worse. MS-13 is being replenished to levels never seen before. I brought MS-13 through ICE and Border Patrol out by the thousands. We were going into towns in Long Island, and these were brave warriors like law enforcement is. We have so much respect. And they'd go right into what they call a nest of a lot of these gang members, and they'd start fighting. All these guys that I know, my friends in the first row, I know every one of them very well. Not one of them would do this job. And if they did, they'd be knocked out in about 2 seconds. they wouldn't do it well. They wouldn't want to do it. These are brilliant, great, tough, strong, but more important than anything, patriotic people. They would go into these towns and they would get these hardened criminals that are loaded up with weapons, and they would get them the hell out of our country. It's amazing what they did for us. And now they're being treated horribly by this administration. Joe Biden has functionally abandoned ICE, shut down interior enforcement, and turned our nation into a giant sanctuary for dangerous criminals. We have criminals coming in this country. Nobody knows how bad it's going to be. Watch, that's another Trump prediction. In the Republican Party, we believe our country should be a sanctuary for law-abiding Americans, not for criminal aliens. Under my administration, we found the gang members, drug dealers, and various MS-13 killers. And we I mean quickly. We knocked them out so fast. Nobody could believe it. Thousands a year. And we quickly deported them, or we put them behind bars where they belong. Sometimes they were so evil, so vicious, we didn't want to take a chance on bringing them back to their countries. And their countries didn't want them, you know. You know that story. I've told that story. When I came in, we'd catch these people, and Border Patrol, ICE, I'd meet with the top people. They're incredible people. They'd say, sir, they won't take the people. I said, what do you mean they won't take them? They don't want them back. They don't want the gang members back. They don't want the killers back. They won't take them back. When we fly in with an airplane, they put planes on the runway so we can't land. We have to come back. The buses, they stop. They won't take them back, sir. None of the 3 major countries that we're talking about, Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, they won't take them back, sir. I say, really, do we give them any money every year? This is early on, so, I learned exactly what it was, but early on, hadn't done it too long, right? Do we give them any money? Yes, sir. How much? About $500 million a year. It's a lot of money, right? So I said, good, stop payment immediately. No more money going to these countries. No more money. No more money going to these countries. I immediately stopped all of this $500 million, a little more than that, $500 million going to the 3 countries. And a day went by, and I got a call from all 3 of the heads of those countries who I knew and know and respect. They're smart. They're very streetwise people. They're very smart and very, very streetwise. Mr. President, you stopped many millions of dollars from coming into Honduras and Guatemala and El Salvador. You stopped it from coming in, Mr. President. Is there something we did wrong? Yes, you're not taking back people that came into our country illegally. You will not take them back. Oh, there must be some understanding, sir. We would love to have them back. I said, congratulations. We'll be sending lots of planes your way. And we did. We got them all back. And we still didn't make the payment. I delayed that sucker a long time. We still didn't make the payment. We waited a long time, but they took them all back. And then the other day I heard that Biden wants to give those countries $4 billion. Because he thinks that they're going to spend the money on economic development. No, it's going to go economic development into their bank accounts in Switzerland, okay? That's the economic development we're talking about. They want to give them $4 billion. They're working on the paperwork right now. The money's going to be stolen. It's going to be given to the cartels. It's going to be given to the traffickers. It's going to be kept by politicians. See, we only have honest politicians in our country, right? Like Mo. That's true. We understand, and we've understood very much in America First, that immigration security is national security. And that's why we instituted the travel ban. Remember the travel ban? I took such heat where I was able to get people that came into our country from very tough countries, very, very tough countries, and I was able to stop them from coming to our country. Because we didn't want to have our stores blown up. We didn't want to have buildings set on fire and death and destruction. So we lost at the lower court. We lost at the second court. And then we won at the United States Supreme Court. And to show you how dishonest the press is, recently they wrote about it. They said he lost in court. And they were right. at the lower court. But then I lost again, but then I won. I said, you didn't say I won. Well, you did lose. You know, in other words, technically they're right. I lost in court, but I won. Then we have a travel ban. And without that travel ban, you would have some really bad people in here from places in the world that are evil. And it was a great thing. I took a lot of heat over that travel ban. People said, that's not nice. They all like to call it a Muslim ban. It wasn't a Muslim ban. It was a travel ban from a lot of different countries that are bad. And they send bad people to us. And because of the travel ban, we didn't have to accept that. So it was a great success, but they try and make it look like it wasn't very nice. We dramatically reduced refugee admissions and kept radical Islamic terrorists the hell out of our country. Is that okay? I mean, you know, is that okay? One of the first acts that Biden did after Mitch McConnell said, we must get back to work. We have to get our country going. We have to approve him as the president. Even though the evidence was staggering, you'll see the evidence starting to come out. It's already come out, far beyond what we need. By the way, far, far, far beyond what we need. We have to get back to our country and running our country, Mitch McConnell. And the first thing that Biden did was sign 17 of the worst executive orders in the history of our country. And one of them, Biden revoked that beautiful, wonderful travel ban and has surged refugee resettlement from the most dangerous countries in the world, the most dangerous terrorists in the world. They come into our country now with no problem. Come on in. It's love to have you. This is a sick culture, and our country is a disaster, and it's going to die before your very eyes if this craziness isn't stopped in so many ways. You know, the Afghanistan thing is so simple to understand because, you know, it's really, when people watch that, people that weren't even into watching political things and the news, but when people watch this, they understood it immediately about the military. Don't take them out. Leave it till last. Sort of like the captain of a ship. Let's jump off first before the passengers. I'm getting the hell out of here. Right? That's what it is. The captain is supposed to wait and watch and work. But we're seeing what happens when you have dishonest and rigged elections. This is what happens. This is what you get. Our nation is being destroyed from within by people who have no right to destroy it. No right. They have no right to destroy it. As everyone here understands, the 2020 election, that presidential election, which was such a great day at 10 o'clock, it was over. Pennsylvania, Trump is winning by a lot. Arizona, Trump is winning by a lot. We don't even talk about Alabama. There was nothing they could do with this one. There was nothing. And it'll go down. You're going to see things happening. It'll go down as the most corrupt election in American history and almost probably in any history. The evidence of the fraud is monumental, and more is coming out. Just recently, Wisconsin election officials admitted they removed more than 200,000 voters. By the way, that's 10 times more than I need to win. 10 times more. 200,000 from the voter rolls, and they did it, unfortunately. Why didn't they move them before the election? They removed them after the election. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it. They removed these names after the election was over, approximately 20 times more than we needed. Earlier this month, it was revealed that in Georgia, ballots were rejected by machines and illegally altered by hand to remove marks for Trump and instead cast votes for Joe Biden. You'll see that coming out. You're going to see many of them. In some states, you had a little problem. More votes than voters, a little problem. Take a look at Detroit. Sir, they have many more votes than they have voters. Oh, that doesn't sound so good, does it, huh? And I needed just a little bit. Didn't need much of it. For example, in Nevada, it was recently discovered that 15 out of the state's 17 counties had more votes than voters in 2020. Think of that, Nevada, run by Democrats. Gee, I wonder how that happened. In Arizona, 11,000 individuals are now listed as having voted who were not even on the rolls the day after the election. They weren't listed on the rolls. None of the margins in the state, remember this, the margin was less than 11,000, substantially. So that was much more than we needed. That was just one of many categories. The Arizona auditors have also collected a sworn affidavit stating that county election workers abolished signature matching entirely. Okay, well, that sounds reasonable. No signature. In other words, whose signature is it? We're not allowed to match. Oh, that's great. Maricopa County has refused to comply with an official subpoena to provide images of the envelopes, this would prove whether they indeed counted ballots with no signatures at all. Many of the ballots weren't signed. They were just thrown in there. Finally, a recent trend analysis of all 50 states based on population growth, voter history, and voter registration data by one of the most respected people in that industry, somebody so respected, military person, Captain Seth Keshel, found over 8 million excess Biden votes. In other words, he had 8 million more votes than he's supposed to have. And his estimate is conservative. He considered it very conservative, and I believe he said he didn't even go to the machines. This is without even looking at the machines. Remember, I'm not the one trying to undermine American democracy. I am the one trying to save American democracy. The numbers speak for themselves. We got 12 million more votes than in 2016. I was told by the best pollsters in the world, real pollsters, not the phony pollsters that are used by certain of the fake news media. If I got 1 million more votes, I couldn't lose. I got 12 million more votes, and we lost. You know, Obama the second time got millions fewer votes than he did the first time he won. But I was told by the most talented pollsters, and polling is talent. Polling works, but not when it's fraudulent polling. Get 1 million votes, sir, you cannot lose. It'll be an easy early evening. We got 12 million votes, and they said we lost, or we didn't. We won 18 out of 19 bellwether counties, which is unprecedented. We flipped 15 House seats. Remember, we were going to lose 25 to 35 House seats. Instead of losing 25 or 35, we won 15. It was a big evening. And you know why? Because they came in on our coattails. That's what happened. The congressmen will tell you that, and women, they will tell you that. And did not lose a single Republican incumbent in Congress. Think of that. For the first time, congressmen, we never think of that. This was in decades and decades. We didn't lose one seat. You know why? I hate to say it. Because of me. It's because of me. And despite the pandemic, 56%, this was a record, of Americans, this is during the pandemic, believed that they were better off in 2020 than they were in 2016 when I assumed office. Think of that. 56% is a record. And we had a pandemic going. A majority of Americans, 55%, want audits of the votes. They want audits. And they want the forensic audits. They don't want the bullshit audits. And 88% of the American citizens, of our great people, are demanding voter ID. Thank you. Here tonight is someone who has fought harder than anyone else in Congress to expose the election fraud. He is really a fighter. And to defend the integrity of our elections And I have to say it, I just can't imagine him losing. He's got courage. He's an honest guy. He's an honest guy. And that gives him the courage. Your next U.S. Senator from Alabama, Mo Brooks. Thank you. Now, I know Mo spoke, but come up and say just a quick word, Mo. He's doing very poorly in the polls. He's only up at about 90%. Come on, Mo.
Thank you, Mr. President, and future President of the United States of America. I'm pleased to announce the second coming of President Donald J. Trump.
Go get him. I'll do my best. Thank you. Go get him, Mo. Thank you, Mo. So Mo is a fearless warrior for your sacred right to vote and so many other things. He's going to be an incredible senator, and we're proud of him. And we're proud of my cherished, your cherished, but my cherished Alabama. I feel like, I don't know, the relationship has been so strong. Right at the beginning, you know, before I knew anything, I just knew we had a thing called common sense together. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. I love you, too. But it is true, you know, early on, I said, how are we doing in Alabama? Sir, you're up about 45 points. This was before I knew any. I didn't know what the hell it even meant. 45 points. That sounds good. We're up at numbers that nobody's ever seen before. We've never gone down. Now we're up higher than we ever were. And you also have somebody that is unbelievable, unbelievable. He happens to be now a senator. He was an unbelievable football coach, Tommy Tuberville. Tommy, stand up, Tommy. Where's Tommy? Where's Tommy? I love Tommy. Where the hell is he? Where is he? He's here. A hell of a crowd. I want to tell you, this crowd goes so far back. See the cameras? We shouldn't give that to the media, because all they do is they block the view and they don't say the truth anyway. This crowd, see what this is, goes hundreds of yards behind those cameras. Look at that. Man. Tommy is, I'd love to see Tommy. I love Tommy. He's doing a great job. I said, you know, Tommy, you're running for Senate, and he did a good job. He was a natural. And he was a rah-rah coach, but he was a great coach. I asked Urban Myers, how good a coach was Tommy Tuberville? He said, he beat me twice. He's the only one that beat me twice. But I said, Tommy, you beat Alabama 6 times. I said, how can you possibly expect the people of Alabama to vote for you? He said, sir, because I gave them a coach named Saban. Because of me. I said, Tommy, that's the coolest answer I've ever heard. And you voted him in, and he's been a great senator. He's been phenomenal. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you very much. Credible guy. Credible guy. And he's got that look of a senator, doesn't he? Not that looks matter. I always say looks don't matter. You know, nowadays, looks don't matter. But he's still got the look of a senator. He's doing a great job. Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth. Will? Thank you, Will. Great job. Nice meeting you backstage. Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall. Steve? Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Thank you very much. Representatives Jerry Carl, Barry Moore, Gary Palmer, Robert. Where's Robert? Robert Aderholt. He's been another one. Oh, and one of my favorite people. Oh, she's so smart. I hope she's around. I hope she's around. She is an incredible woman. She's a brilliant woman, doesn't get credit for it, but we all know about that stuff. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie, where is she? She's great. She is great. She's a warrior. She's a warrior. Everything I said about Georgia is true, Marjorie, right? Yeah. A great gentleman, Chief Justice of Alabama Supreme Court, Tom Parker. Tom, thank you very much. Thank you, Tom. A lot of power. State Senate President Pro Tem, Greg Reed. Greg, thank you very much. Thank you. State Senator Garland Gurger. Garland, thank you. State Representative Andrew Sorrell. A man who's done a fantastic job, Sheriff Matt Gentry. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Matt. National Committeeman Paul Reynolds. Paul, thank you. Thank you very much. Alabama GOP Chair. Oh, this guy is amazing. You know what you raised tonight? A record in the history of the Republican Party, and I think also in the history of the Democrat Party, if we can say that. You raised $1.2 million. And I didn't ask for anything. I should have. I made a mistake. Marjorie, I made a mistake. You know, normally I'll say, all right, we'll raise money, but you take half, we take half. We put it into my campaign. We put it, I just said, the hell with it. Alabama is so good. Keep the whole damn thing. He raised $1.2 million. John Wall. John, great job. Great job, John. It's a record. A patriot, a wonderful man, a man who puts his guts into everything, a man that they don't treat properly. He's smart. He loves his country so much. He's willing to die for this country. I watched him over the last week at his symposium, which was really amazing. Some of the people he had were incredible, incredible people. Mike Lindell. Mike. True. I'll tell you true. It's true. He had some people up there really, I mean, they were scientists. They were political scientists and beyond, and they were incredible, what they said and what they understand. Also, I want to thank for covering us so incredibly well, two wonderful young people with unbelievable futures, Natalie Harp and Christina Bobb. Did you ever hear of them? They are unbelievable. Where are they? Natalie Harp and Christina Bobb, two incredible people. Thank you. Thank you very much for the job you do, both of you. Unbelievable. An unbelievable job. What a good future you have. Under our administration, we've accomplished more in 4 short years than most presidents dream of accomplishing in 8 years. We passed the biggest tax cuts in the history of our country, record-setting regulation cuts, nobody came close, fair and reciprocal trade deals. We got rid of NAFTA, one of the worst deals ever made. Now we have the USMCA. And we stood up to China like never before. We charged them tens of billions of dollars of tariffs. We never took in 10 cents from China. We built the greatest economy in the history of the world, and then we did it again. We had to do it twice. And now it's being destroyed, rapidly destroyed by what they're doing with inflation and other things. We completely rebuilt the United States military. We created Space Force, and we selected Huntsville, Alabama, as the new headquarters of the U.S. Space Command. I made a lot of enemies. I made so many, and a lot of states wanted it. But we put it in Alabama, and that was not an easy one, I want to tell you. You think this stuff is easy, don't you? It's not so easy. By contrast, no administration in history has gotten off to a worse start than the Biden administration. There's never been anything like this. And I thought about that statement before it happened with the disaster that we're witnessing in Afghanistan. Joe Biden is a failed president. He will always be a failed president. He's ushered in one calamity after another. When I left office, I handed Biden 3 vaccines to end the pandemic in record time, as I said, and yet, under his leadership, the virus is surging back. Could you imagine if I were president and the virus was surging back? It would be, she said it wouldn't come back. You know, that one's actually tougher than the Taliban, I must be honest with you. But he's reimposing mask mandates and threatening new restrictions on the American people. Meanwhile, many new restrictions. Meanwhile, 21% of migrant youth who recently crossed the border reportedly have COVID. And they don't have to do anything. They don't have to wear masks. They don't have to go through testing. They don't have to do anything. And the country is being infected by what's coming over the border, and not only with COVID. Biden canceled the Keystone XL pipeline. And as I said, it's okay for Russia, but no good for us. Remember when he said, "We will not approve the America First agenda"? I said, that's a killer statement, isn't it? But he actually believes that. America First, the greatest I think we've ever had, the greatest statement as to what we want to do with our country. And he said, we are not for America First. I said, did anybody actually tell him to say that? He attacked oil and gas workers here in America and caused gas prices to skyrocket, yet now he is begging OPEC for more production, to please send energy our way, please send oil, gas to our country. And 6 months ago, we had so much, we didn't know what the hell to do with it. Unbelievable. He shut a lot of it down, had nothing to do with the environment. It's called an environmental hoax. He did the exact opposite. I broke OPEC and I broke the cartel. You saw what was happening. We actually had a moment in time where oil prices went down per barrel to minus $37. In other words, if you took a barrel of oil, they gave you $37. I told my people, why didn't you do that? We would have gotten paid to take the oil. That was too much because it was going to destroy our industry. But we did fill up the national oil reserves that were empty for years. And we filled them up with very cheap oil. And now Biden wants to use that to supplement what we have. We shouldn't do that. We achieved American energy independence, and we turned America into the #1 energy superpower in the world. We were bigger than Saudi Arabia by a lot. We were bigger than Russia by a lot. And now we're going back to them, asking them for help. Do you believe this? Biden and the radical Democrats are also pushing a $4.7 trillion spending bonanza that is nothing but a down payment on the socialist Green New Deal. Build your buildings. Please don't put windows in your building. That's one of the ones that we don't want windows to be in the building. And if they are, they want to be very small. Take the buildings down in New York and build new buildings with smaller windows. Between the phony infrastructure bill and the budget proposal, their package would abolish the suburbs. Totally abolish. They said I lost people in the suburbs. I'm the one that got them to stop building horrible, low-income housing that was going to destroy the suburbs. And they're saying that I didn't do well in the suburbs. I think I did great in the suburbs. I think the women in the suburbs voted for Donald Trump. That's what I think. I do think. We had a rigged election. They give Congress unchecked authority to raise your taxes. You will be getting the biggest tax increase in history if they're allowed to do what they are trying to do. Allow the government to try taxing American drivers by the mile. They want to tax you by the mile and grant a backdoor mass amnesty to illegal aliens. The radical Democrat Party and their media allies are completely and totally corrupt. The same people who want you to believe there was no election fraud are the ones who said there was no spying on my campaign. Remember they spied on my campaign? I said they're spying on my campaign, and the world went crazy. I thought it was just an innocent statement because we know they're dishonest. The world went crazy when I said they're spying, and it turned out to be true. They perpetrated the Russia hoax. They framed General Flynn. They conducted the Mueller witch hunt, never-ending Mueller witch hunt. They're continuing to do it with very dishonest, highly political prosecutors all over the place. They're using justice to go after Republicans, and we can't let that happen because, again, we're not going to have a country left. And they pushed the impeachment hoax #1 and impeachment hoax #2, who ruthlessly smeared Brett Kavanaugh. Do you remember how they went after Brett Kavanaugh? He was with this one. He was with that one. He wasn't with any of them. And they knew that. But, you know, they're trying to scare our Supreme Court. And they're trying to scare people like Bill Barr and others by going after them. They try and scare them because they say they're going to pack the court or they're going to impeach Bill Barr. And, you know, it changes some people. It really does. It changes them. It scares them. They don't want that to happen. They talk about they want to impeach Kavanaugh. You know what they want to impeach him for? Nothing. He didn't do anything wrong. In fact, the opposite. They did everything wrong. They were total, dishonest people. One of the most horrendous hearings anyone's seen. They covered up the origins of the China virus, and they censored all information about Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and all of the corruption in that family. Just recently, it was revealed that Google rewrote its whole program. You saw that. In order to target Donald Trump. They targeted me, and yet we still got 75 million votes. How the hell did we do that? But really, the number wasn't 75 million. I believe the number was many, many, many millions more. You know, it's funny. I have a rally like this that goes way the hell back. By the way, it's starting to rain. I will prove to you it's my hair. I will prove it. But everyone here knows that the radical left will stop at nothing to destroy the America we love. We're not going to let it happen. All of you in Alabama and with conservative patriots like Mo Brooks and others and all of the names I mentioned are fighting for us in Washington. And I have never been more confident that we will defeat the radical left, and we have to. We don't have a choice. These are vicious people, and they stick together. They don't have Mitt Romney and these guys that go off on their own. They don't have people like that. Little Ben Sass, he's a nothing. They don't have people like this. They have people that stick together. I respect them for that, but I don't respect them for trying to destroy our country. With a Republican Congress, we will fight for more jobs for American families, fair trade for American workers, and we've done more on trade deals than any other administration in the history of our country, including the China deal, which I don't even talk about anymore because of COVID, but the China deal has made our farmers rich. Our farmers and manufacturers have never done better. And more American factories forging more products stamped with that very beautiful phrase, made in the USA. So in conclusion, our movement is up against some of the most sinister forces and entrenched interests that anyone can even imagine. But no matter how big our way of life, no matter how big our country or how powerful they may seem, you must never forget this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you. This is your home. This is your heritage. And our magnificent American liberty is your God-given right. The citizens of the United States of America will not be dictated to and talked down to by incompetent politicians, corrupt tyrants, left-wing bullies, or socialist bureaucrats in Washington, D.C., a place that I got to know very, very well. We are descended from the heroes and the patriots, the pioneers and the legends who tamed the great wilderness, who settled this vast continent, and who laid down the railroads, raised up the skyscrapers, and poured out their blood, sweat, and tears to build this country into the greatest nation in the history of the world, and we are not going to let it be taken away from us under any circumstances. Our ancestors crushed fascism. Beneath the weight of American tanks, they toppled communism by the strength of American culture, and now we will defeat woke radicalism and a continuation of communism, because that's what this is heading for. We will defeat it with the sheer power of American pride and American brain. Our leaders may not believe in the destiny of America. They may not believe in the destiny of America. I really don't believe in many ways they love our country, but we do, and we are not going to let anybody take that love away. We know that there is no mountain we cannot climb, there is no summit we cannot reach, and there is no challenge we cannot meet. We are Americans, and the future belongs to us. We are going to have a great future. We are going to turn this mess around. This is a horrible thing that's happening to our country. We're laughed at all over the world. We're not going to be laughed at anymore. This is a horrible, horrible thing, and it's going to go on for a while, but we've got to end it. We cannot let this happen. They're destroying our country. We will not bend. We will not break. We will not yield. We will never give in. We will never give up. We will never back down. We will never, ever surrender. My fellow Americans, our movement is far from over. In fact, our fight has only just begun. In the history of our country, there has never been a movement like this. There's never been anything like it. People run for the Senate. They do okay, they lose, they win a couple of votes, and they're national heroes for 50 years. They're on television talking. People run for president, and they come in second, third, or fourth in one primary, and they're national heroes all of a sudden. We, not me, we ran for president, and we won 32 states, and then we did better the second time, much better the second time. Much, much better. Somebody from the fake news media said, "Sir, what was the difference between 2016 and 2020? I said, well, the difference was that in 2020, we did much, much better. The rallies were bigger. The enthusiasm was more, because in 2016, I told you what we were going to do, but it was talk. In 2020, you knew that I did it. So we had a much better. But we were cheated, and it was rigged. We were cheated. But there's never been a movement like this. And you know, it's funny, I say it a lot. And with the fake news, look at all of them back there. The fake news is back there. They never, ever question it. If I say something that's close to wrong, it's headline news. But I say this is the greatest rally in the history of our country. This is the greatest movement in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. And it's probably the greatest movement in the history of our world. It's probably this movement. Call it Make America Great Again, call it America First, call it what you will. I believe it's the greatest movement probably in the history of the world. And it's just starting. It's just starting. We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. So with love of our nation swelling in our hearts, and it does swell in your hearts. That's why you're standing here in the rain listening to this person. You're saying, darling, it's raining. Let's go home. But nobody is leaving all the way back, hundreds and like football fields behind. Football fields. Darling, it's raining. But they say, we're not going home because we love our country. But it's swelling in our hearts. The spirit of America is stirring our souls. And I say these words to you, and you've heard these words before, in some cases, many times before. We will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America, despite what you're seeing today, so sad and so pathetic, we will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And you know what it is. We will make America great again. Thank you, Alabama. God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you very much.